Today we're going to be talking about, as an agency owner, how much do you charge for your Google Ads or PPC management services? Let's get started. Hi, I'm Mike Mancini, a Google Ads agency owner for the last 9 years. So when it comes to pricing models for your Google Ads agency or your PPC management agency, there really is no one perfect solution. Your pricing may vary depending on a number of circumstances. One could be how difficult the account might be. It might vary depending on industry. It might vary depending on how much the client is spending. So there are a number of factors. I'm going to go through and give you some of the most popular pricing models, as well as give you some pros and cons of each, and tell you the different models that we've tried, as we used to use one particular model and have since changed that up a couple of years ago to one that I think benefits us a little more. I'll also show you an example of what we used to use, what pricing model we used to use, and why we changed it and the reasons that we did. So the first method would be charging a flat monthly fee with a percentage of advertising spend. So an example might be if the client was spending $1,000 a month on their ads, we might charge them $400 a month plus 10%. So 10% of $1,000 would be an additional $100. We would get the $400 fee plus that $100. So for a total of $500 a month to manage that account. So one of the advantages of this pricing model is, as an agency, you know at a minimum you're getting that $400. One of the cons of this method is how you're billing it. So are you saying that the client is agreeing to spend $1,000 for that month so you can charge them, or are you charging after the fact? So it kind of gets to be a little bit more of an administrative problem when it comes to billing. With that said, at least you as the agency owner and the client both have an idea of how much you're going to be spending on management services each month. So an example would be like 15 to 20% of their advertising spend is what we see most of the time. Now, this is usually reserved for clients who are spending a large amount of money, because if the client is only spending $1,000 a month, you might only be making $150 or $200 a month. And that's really not a great place to be in, because the amount of work that you're going to have to put in for that $150 or $200 a month might not be worth it. An advantage to the client would be obviously that they are going to know exactly how much they are going to be spending in management fees. And you as an agency owner will have a great idea as well. Other agencies will charge just a flat fee no matter what the advertising spend is. Now, there are some caveats to this rule, because some agencies will have sliding scales. They may say, you know what, we charge a minimum of $1,500 a month up to $4,000 of advertising spend, and then we increase it. And they have different thresholds depending on how much the account is spending. Other agencies will charge per lead that they get the client. Now, the advantage to this one is the client can see the value in that right away, because if you're saying for your industry, I'm going to charge you $40 a lead. Well, if they're used to paying $70, that's a great deal to them. The big disadvantage is a lot of communication with the client about that was a bad lead, that was a good lead, that was, they called and they hung up. Just different conversations like that. So there's definitely a lot of back and forth. Now, some agency owners, especially new ones, will basically charge whatever they can get, right? You're a new agency owner. You are just like, listen, I just want to get paid. I don't care how much it is. It really doesn't matter. I just need revenue coming in. The problem with that is you tend to undercut the value you're providing for those clients. And it's a huge mistake, especially one that I made when I was getting started out. In fact, it was so massive that I was charging some clients $150 or $200 a month to manage their campaigns. Well, as time went on, I saw a lot of other agencies charging $500, $750, $1,000, $2,000 a month for a client. And I was like, I'm putting in way more effort than I'm getting paid for. The value I'm providing these companies is massively more. And it actually got to a point where I said, enough is enough. And I went back to every single one of my clients and I said, in 30 days, we have to raise our prices. And I talked to each one of them individually as well and said, listen, the value I'm bringing you, if I get you one more client, that more than pays for, the services that we're providing. And every one of them agreed. And in fact, when I doubled my prices, I did not lose a single client. That is just how much I was undercharging for my services. So you really have to watch out for that. Make some calls, check with other agencies, do some research online to see what you're comfortable with. Also, what I used to do is I used to bill based on a percentage of advertising spend. But my clients would want to change the advertising spend in the middle of the month depending on how business was going or how they were doing. So they might want to increase it or decrease it or whatever it might be. So I was charging my clients at the end of the month based on their percentage of ad spend. Now, the big disadvantage of that is, number one, I had no idea exactly how much I was going to be making each month from that client. Number two, the administrative headache of going into every account and manually billing a client based on their percentage of ad spend was just a nightmare. The first day of every month, I was just going through and doing all the book work for the previous month and getting paid then. So I was getting paid after I did the work. The other problem that came up is if clients were, running their businesses poorly and didn't have the money to pay me, guess who got stuck with it? So I lost out on that revenue because I did not bill in advance. Now what we do is we charge a flat fee to every client every single month, but we do it on the first day of the month. So on the first day of the month, I know exactly how much I'm going to be making at a minimum. And when I say at a minimum, that's because I may sign some other clients throughout the rest of the month. So on day one, I get paid. I know exactly how much I'm making, and the clients know exactly how much they're going to be paying me. And we don't have a flat fee based on every single client. And here's the reason why. If it's a smaller business, smaller businesses are a little bit harder to work with, especially if they have small budgets, because you need clicks, right? The only way you're going to get those clicks is if they spend money on advertising. But if they're paying $1,000 in advertising spend and we're charging them $1,000, they find that correlation off, right? They don't understand. They're like, why am I paying you just as much as I'm paying for ads? So that's a much harder sell. So if a client is only spending $1,000 or $1,500 a month in advertising spend, depending on the client, depending on the situation, depending on the industry, I may decrease that because I might think, you know what? I work with a lot of other clients like this. It's pretty set in stone how we do things. We know that we can get them a great return on investment. However, if the client is going to be much harder to work with as far as their industry or the campaign is going to take that much more work, we will charge more. I have some older clients that we're still charging $500 because those campaigns are churning. We've kept them rolling for years. I also have clients that are $750, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 and more. Now, if it's a client who's coming in and spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, that campaign is going to take a lot more work, so you obviously need to price accordingly. With a small campaign and a small advertising spend, you're not going to be making as many changes as you would with a campaign that's getting 200 clicks a day. So there's going to be less work and you may feel comfortable charging less. And another important tip is that we always charge a setup fee no matter what. And the reason is that if they've got a campaign and they're running it and they're like, well, we already have a campaign, but we just want you to manage it. The problem with that is maybe the campaign was set up incorrectly or it's running very poorly. And if that's happening, you can't really go in and fix a lot of that. You need to start a new campaign from scratch. So what we will typically do is go into the old campaign, find what was working, put it into a new one, and then we add some of the other things that we do to it. That way the campaign is starting fresh, it's starting on new legs, and it can get into Google's algorithm that, hey, this is a brand new campaign, let's treat this one a little bit differently. And another thing is, when we charge our clients that setup fee, we're building the campaign in their account. So they're paying us to do that work. There's no reason why we should be doing work for free. To get new clients, I used to actually not charge a setup fee because I wanted to lower that barrier for entry to them. The problem with that was sometimes they would take that account, run it for a month, and then just take it and leave, and I was left with nothing. So always make sure that you're charging a setup fee. And another thing when billing is with Google Ads agencies, you might see somebody out there that's only charging $200 a month. to run Google Ads, the problem with that is you kind of get what you pay for. A Google Ads agency only charging $200 a month probably isn't doing a lot of work in that campaign consistently. I happen to be an agency that did a lot of work in the campaigns, and that's why we were so underpaid. But there are some other agencies out there that we've seen that have run campaigns before we got in there, and they are literally not making any changes throughout the month. But if a company comes to you and you're charging $1,500 a month, they're going to expect changes, and chances are they know how to check what kind of changes are going on in the account. So if you're charging that much, you will be expected to do a lot more. If you can show them that you can get them that extra 1 or 2 or 3 clients a month to help pay for your fees, they love that. But chances are, if you're good at your job, you can get them many more than that. So what pricing model do you follow? What pricing model have you implemented in your agency? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about it. And let me know if one of them worked out for you or didn't work out at all. And if you like this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button. It really helps us out in the eyes of YouTube. Hit subscribe and that little bell icon so you'll be notified of when we release new videos each and every week. And over to the right-hand side, you will see some more related Google Ads agency videos. Thanks so much for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. We'll see you next time. And you can see, as in a lot of the videos, this is what happens all day. He just sits there. It looks like a stuffed animal. He doesn't move. I need a new dog.